Welcome to part 5 of the Belgium campaign. In part 4 we were really just holding our ground, fighting in and around Strasbourg against a variety of enemies, including our own men. Trying to wrangle our guys out of killing themselves was a particular challenge, but we did hold all of our territory. Things are about to get a bit harder though. There's an Italian attack coming in towards Strasbourg. That's nothing all that new, it's the German turn that really throws a spanner in the works. Firstly, we see two armies go through French territory, completely undefended by the French, into Belgium from the south, and Brussels is now under siege by a force that's much stronger than the civilian militia army that will be defending it. Plus, two more armies, or three armies by the looks of things, are trying to cross into Belgium from the east, or at least cross into the inner part of Belgium where we're defending the river crossing with just a few units. A couple of French units will join us for the fight, but overall not the best balance bar. Now for this battle, I actually recorded it about 5 times in different instances, trying battles at the crossing and retreating and fighting elsewhere, and it always just glitched out and crashed the game, which was really annoying because it took hours without any results. So here's the final attempt that actually did work in the end. I had to turn the graphics down though, so you'll note some weird graphics effects going on, in particular the particle effects are now much worse because I suspected they were causing the crashes. As for the plan, we've got a machine gun bunker and mortars defending the southern crossing while our infantry defend the north. With the machine gun bunker, I'm micromanaging the way it fires because we've seen in the past it can shoot beyond its effective range if you just attack ground with it. So we use that to gun down enemies before they get to the crossing, and it's particularly effective, especially because the machine gun bunkers are really accurate in comparison to regular machine guns. It just shoots in a big straight line, cutting down lines of enemy soldiers. As it happens, in the other attempts at this battle, a lot of the enemy units went for the northern crossing towards my infantry instead. So it's kind of good that the game crashed quite a lot, because actually having just the entire enemy army go up against the machine gun bunker is probably for the best. Their fire against the bunker will do nothing, and while they stand there shooting us, we're firing back and just absolutely annihilating them, and with a bit of micro we can increase the efficiency at which we're killing them. If you order the bunker to just fire at a unit, it often fires at the guys on the very end of the line, a classic Total War glitch. So if you micro to attack ground, you can make them shoot the middle and shoot other units at the same time and things, and really get some efficient killing going. As for the AI, it doesn't really know what to do about this. Sometimes they shot at the bunker, which didn't do anything. Other times they run at us, which just makes our shots even more accurate and more deadly, and not many guys are going to get across the river under this hail of fire. We are pretty much set up for this battle then. We don't have to do anything, we can just micro to kill the enemy faster. I think we probably would have been fine if I just left our gunners to take the enemy down. The enemy started bringing in cavalry, which is even less effective than infantry, because even though it does have the chance to quickly cross the river, they're big targets, so just shooting generally at them kills men quickly, and the smaller unit size makes them easier to rout due to losses. Here's an example of us extending the machine gun range by using attack ground, like we saw in that ambush where I first used machine guns. There is still a limit to their range. The bullets will stop even if there are no obstructions. It's roughly twice the actual stated range from what I can tell. Anyway, more cav swarmed into the crossing point, and little did I know there is a chance that this could work. I think if you swarmed loads of cav at a machine gun bunker, you can actually take them down. But we'll see a bit more of that later on. In this case, the cav are just being absolutely annihilated. They stop to shoot and that does nothing, and they're just getting killed. And as I said, they're easier to rout than infantry because you only have to kill a few of them for them to have lost a big proportion of their unit. There's another unit trying to make the crossing and dying. Really all I have here is like 40 minutes of me just gradually killing 3 enemy armies using a machine gun bunker. So not that much point showing all of it, but you can see the bodies piling up at the crossing point as thousands of enemies try to make the attack and just fail one after the other. Here's another wave coming in. And this is at about the point where the enemy are starting to run out of stuff to throw across the river, or at least run out of cavalry and infantry. Their artillery and the like are still hanging around at the back. They were fighting a couple of random French units, though I don't think they achieved anything. So yes, there was another case where they almost got up to our bunker with the cav, but then they turned back and they're just going to be annihilated as they retreat. Interestingly, a couple of machine gun bunker crews came over to the river. They've got some machine gun bunkers on their side, but they have abandoned them to join the attack, which is a bit of an issue for us, actually, again as we'll see in a second. They've also got artillery, which we can't really defeat in this situation. Luckily, the artillery aren't doing that much. They could use them to destroy the bunker or just successfully cross the river by blowing our infantry up. But right now they are failing to do so, so we're okay to just leave them at the back, plugging away at us. An enemy general came over to the northern crossing point, which hasn't seen that much action so far. He just crossed on his own and got cut down by our men. Good AI, thank you for the officer kill. Now at about the same time as this, there's a bit of trouble down on the southern crossing. You can see two units have made it across. It's the two machine gun crews. In a previous part, we saw how machine gun crews are actually immortal. You can't shoot them. So the bunker can't take them down. They can just run past our machine gun bunker and keep going. Bit of an issue for us. But if they don't really do anything, that's okay. I guess they can wander around on our side of the river. The potentially bigger issue is that the enemy have brought mortars up, and these could actually destroy our bunker, and then we'll lose because we pretty much don't have anything after that. I brought one of the rifle units down from the northern crossing to deal with these machine gun crews. I was shooting them at first, but we know that doesn't do anything to these Terminators, so we're going to go for a bayonet charge, which we know can actually kill them. Meanwhile, freshly arrived infantry units are going to try and make the crossing, climbing over huge piles of bodies as they do so, in particular the horse bodies, which are completely clogging up the river. I'm using attack ground to shoot in front of the enemy's column. This formation they're in is super vulnerable to machine gun fire because the shots are just going right through multiple units and gunning down lines of enemies. If they had enough guys running with enough purpose and not constantly stopping, they might actually have got across with that mass of troops, but they spend half the time just standing around and soon they're all routed. As they move back, they're going to get shot to pieces as well. That's just bad news for them. Looks like our rifles dealt with those machine gun crews, so now we need to bring them over to try and deal with the mortars. We can't really cross because the enemy still have infantry waiting around over there, but we can just aggro the mortars onto the infantry by getting them closer to the mortars than the bunker is. Once it looks like the aggro has been achieved, the infantry runs away, and that causes the mortars to start moving forwards to try and attack them again. A classic Total War aggro strategy for ranged units. Once they're close enough, they come into the extended range of the machine gun bunker, and we can start doing some micro to land shots on roughly where the mortars are. They're a small target, but this does work out. We can kill guys around the launchers. Their crew, their reserve crew, waited really far away, so I had to kill a bunch of guys, then wait for a load more guys to come over and man the mortars and then kill them again. But we did kill quite a lot of their crew doing this. There was one hiccup though. Just as I was finishing off the last couple of guys, my gun stopped firing, and it looks like we've got a bit of an issue here. An enemy machine gun crew has come over to knife fight with my machine gun crew, who've crawled out to engage in the battle. Our guys leveled up from all those kills earlier, so I think our guys are better, but still I'm bringing in my mortar crew to act as support for this battle. As I said, we know that machine gun crew can be killed in melee, so their invincibility won't save them or us here. Luckily, we do win this fight, and with the arrival of the mortar crew, everything will be secured. So that's the emergency over for now. I think we do finish off the last guy there as he wanders off. Now we just need to go back to trying to take out the mortars, and then our machine gun bunker will be safe again. There's just one issue, and it's a big issue, and that is that it seems to be the case that once a machine gun bunker has engaged in melee, they're locked in melee mode forever. You can't put them back on the gun like you can with other kinds of siege equipment. So the bunker is now useless. I guess having a couple of bulletproof guys could be useful because we can go stroll around and draw aggro from enemy infantry or something, though it's not very useful for this battle in particular. But yes, we've discovered the big weakness of the machine gun bunker, and this is what I was getting at earlier when I said that cavalry might be able to take them down if they just charged in, got close enough for them to technically be in melee, and then the bunker could have been disabled right at the start of the fight. As it stands, we did all the killing we needed to do before the bunker was lost. There's a huge pile of enemy bodies right across the river. That's a heroic victory. The Germans lost just under 5,000 troops trying to make that river crossing, and they utterly failed. It overstates our losses here because I think included in our loss count is the loss of a few French units that were hanging around at the back. So in reality, I think we lost something like 100 men. The machine gun bunkers got over 4,000 kills themselves, with a couple of hundred coming from the mortars as well. Overall a stellar performance, although as you may remember, the machine gun bunkers are deleted whenever you use them, so they are actually dead now. They've retired, I guess, having earned their pay and stopped all of those German armies. By the way, there's also now a blur on the screen because turning the graphics down to do that battle enabled bloom, which kind of messes up the campaign map. I think I turn it off eventually. Anyway, those armies have been rebuffed, but we're still in major trouble. There's a serious army currently besieging Brussels, and this huge army of militia has little to no chance. They can't deploy trenches, many of them don't have ranged weapons, and they just generally suck. So if a battle breaks out, it's over there. We need to take decisive action right now, and my plan was to have a multi-stage breakout. Basically, we'll put the army back together here at Strasbourg and take out the Italian force currently besieging us. This army didn't look very strong, so I thought let's just auto-resolve them to death with a quick save, because never trust Napoleon auto-resolve. It was okay though, so we rout them, and then we can put everyone together in the city for a quick turn of replenishment before we move out. The plan will simply be to march everything we have back towards Brussels, try to save it, and then try to hold it. We've only got a couple of turns to achieve this because Brussels will surrender after a while, so we need to act fast. Now there's another attempt to make this river crossing by a whole load more German stuff that's come over from the Cleves area and survivors of the previous battle. There are loads of machine gun bunkers who will be deleted for participating in this battle and won't even be on the field, so that's good news. And the couple of French units that fought in the last battle that I didn't really pay any attention to were back, or the survivors of them were back, and they performed quite well this time, mainly because the Germans were just being weird. They sent their general to try and take on the French, and the general was killed, so that's a great start to the battle. The French units then moved on towards the enemy's starting position, where they came across the enemy's mortar teams. They quickly started cutting them down, and this poor mortar, seeing its unit's fate, is getting out of there. Run, you are free now, my child. Hopefully that mortar will live a long and happy life in the countryside. So yes, that's going to help us out quite a lot, I must say. As for our units, you can see via the minimap, they're all just set up at the northern crossing where the bridge is. I had this pet theory about the AI, which is that it can only aggro onto your artillery at the start of the battle. So whichever crossing point you defend with artillery is the one they'll try and attack, mostly. And that does appear to be the case, because they're ignoring the blank crossing point to the south and all trying to press across this bridge. And of course, while we don't have machine guns this time, we do have 2 lines of rifle troops, and that's more than enough to cut the enemy down as they advance towards us. One of our units is even the modernised rifle guys who aren't the Napoleonic looking units, so that's probably helping out as well. So many units charge across, get killed, go back, think about it again and charge across again as they come back from routing. You know the drill at this point. And many enemies are killed in this fashion. That is all looking good. The French units, unfortunately, are now going to be in trouble because reinforcements are appearing near them and a few units went back to take them out. So the struggle continues, but they're still a great distraction. They're probably killing some enemies. Here they're fighting a machine gun crew. Luckily it's a normal one who presumably are somewhat less immortal than the bunker one. Now we've got an issue of our own. One of the enemy's reinforcement armies is behind us on the map, so as we kill enemies, some enemies start to appear on our side of the river just behind us here. At first it's just going to be Cav, because they're always the first guys to come on as reinforcements. And that's okay, because all we need to do is turn our rifles and fire at them. the Cav just aren't going to be enough to break through or do any damage on their own at least. They're all attacking one unit at a time, of course, making it extra easy. And in this fashion, we're going to be able to hold off quite a few units. Actually, multiple units of Cav kept trying and failing. There goes another one. A few units are also trying to cross the river, but only one rifle unit's really needed to hold the crossing, especially against units like conscripts, which the enemy was sending, who just don't stand a chance. Here was one Cav unit that got a bit closer. Our guys were reforming or something, so they didn't shoot at them just as they came into range, meaning they did stay alive up to this point and even got a volley off, getting some kills on us, but after that they were again routed. I need to get my other rifle unit to start firing. I've been having them off fire at will while the enemy crossed the bridge, because if you fire at them while they're on the bridge you tend to get many fewer kills. The bridge deflects bullets off its edges, so really you want to wait for the enemy to start charging out onto your side before you start using ammo, especially when you're facing loads of armies like we are now, and running out of ammo is a genuine possibility. A while later there was a development when some enemy infantry did use the other crossing to come and attack us. Fortunately, it's just some half-dead infantry, survivors from the previous crossing attempt. This army reinforced quite close to the southern crossing, so I think they naturally came across it to try and get to our mortars. The AI didn't think to cross. The theory of them going after artillery is still correct, as far as I know. Anyway, this attack wasn't very effective because, as I said, the units were already half dead. We just gave them a few volleys and away they went. Some more men appeared to try and do the bridge crossing, and here's an example of me not following my own advice. I've got my riflemen firing at them as they're on the bridge, and we ran out of ammo. Fortunately, we ran out of ammo just as the enemy routed, and that was the last unit to make the crossing, so we had the exact amount of ammo we needed in the end. But yes, I certainly could have been more careful about it. With that, I sent both units to use the southern crossing to try and finish this battle off. The enemy have some artillery and some cavalry on the field. The cav are just hiding in the middle of the map, and the artillery are firing ineffectively all over the place. Moved up with the unit that still has ammo, took some shots and took them out. Then I started marching to fire on the cavalry unit, but something strange happened. My men started just dying all over the place, and I was like, what is going on here? Some more classic glitches. As it turns out, the enemy have an invisible machine gun unit somewhere towards the back here. You can see them firing, looks like they took out the French as well. So that's the problem, they're just firing at superhuman range while invisible, pretty cheeky. We're going to run back and just hide in the woods because the battle was almost over on time anyway. We win, but it's only a decisive victory. The heroic victory challenge run has officially been failed, and I think that was a little bit unfair given the result and the initial balance bar. We killed 2,000 enemies, we lost a couple of hundred men in theory, but again, that's including French losses. I was confused because at this point I still didn't realise it must be including French losses, and I figured the game was just being mean to me. It was just inflating my losses to not give me that heroic victory. But yes, I think that is the explanation. So while we didn't get the heroic victory, we can blame the French for it, so that's okay. And of course we defended the crossing for a second time, so no reinforcements for the enemies near Brussels, not that they necessarily need them right now. I figured that after all that, there might be a turn where the crossing isn't attacked, and so in that case, we'll put our guys away from the crossing at the university. That way they can round up some reinforcements from the students. So next turn we'll have a bit of a better army defending that area. Really though, we need to focus on our counter-attack. The army is ready to march. I'm going to leave behind a bunker and one unit to defend Strasbourg, because with luck and exploits, that might actually be enough to hold the city against even large armies. Everything else will have to march right for Brussels, and that means we have to go right through Metz, because the zone of control on the army there is covering the river crossing we need to use to get to Brussels before it surrenders. We could march through France, but it would be too slow. Because there are all these German armies also near that zone of control, when we initiate this battle, loads of stuff gets drawn in, and we've got a bit of a challenging situation. The balance bar though says that things are equal on both sides, which I was a bit skeptical of, given that the enemy have numbers and quality on their side. I actually checked out the stats for the first time and realised that the Germans' generic infantry is actually better than ours. They outrange us in fact, which could be trouble because that could allow them to draw us out of our trenches if they can shoot us while we can't shoot them. My fire at will strategy is under threat there, plus they've got all these supporting units and tons of reinforcements, etc. This turned into a big and unusual battle, so I hope you'll join me for that next time.